We are in the finals of the comedians over the board. It is Samay Raina's must-win game. He's lost the first game of the finals, and all that Biswa Kalyan Rath needs now is a draw. This is the second game, and off we go. The players shake their hands, and Samay opens with c4. Biswa responds back with e5, knight to c3, knight f6. Very classical. It's kind of the reverse Sicilian. And Samay plays his pawn up to e3. Biswa takes his time. He's thinking about what he needs to do in this position and gets his bishop out to c5, which is kind of a not the best move because d4 is going to just hit the bishop. But Biswa likes to play that way. He had done that before in the event as well. And d4, a good move by Samay, already getting a small edge out of the opening. E takes d4. Knight takes, pawn takes on d4, and the bishop is attacked, which has to move again. So the opening has gone well for Samay. In a must-win game, it's very important that you get a decent position out of the opening. Bishop b4 has been played, pinning the knight. And now logical development, putting the bishop out to d3. Good move there. Both the players extremely seriously playing here because a lot is at stake. The first prize is 3 lakh rupees. Knight ge2, the knight blocks, and it's a good move because he's finishing his development, and also rook e8 won't come with a check now. d5 played by Biswa, fine move here, and Samay castles. So until now the opening has been pretty decent. White may have a small edge, but nothing spectacular. Bishop to g4, pinning the knight. Now a good idea could be cd5, but instead Samay goes a3, and he asks the question to the bishop, what are you going to do? Are you going to move back, or are you going to take on c3? Biswa says, I'm just chopping off the knight. Pawn takes on c3. White center has been solidified because of these pawns, and also he has the bishop pair now. Rook to e8, a nice little move here by Biswa, putting pressure on the e2 knight with his bishop also pinning here. Samay goes rook e1, and now Biswa has to complete his development and is planning to bring his other knight, and correct move, knight to c6, and Samay pins with bishop g5. So until now both the players have played excellently. Now the idea is to take on d5. The queen takes to spoil the structure. So Biswa goes h6, and now he could have taken on f6 because then queen takes would mean that the d5 pawn would hang, but instead Samay went back, bishop h4, and Biswa puts his queen up to d6. This is now a serious advantage to Samay if he finds the move c5, but he goes queen c2, which is kind of logical because he wants to get his knight out of this pin here from the bishop. So he puts his queen on c2, and now d takes c4 by Biswa. A decent move there. 7 minutes for Biswa, 8 minutes for Samay. He's 1 minute ahead on the clock. Bishop takes c4 played here. And what is Biswa planning to do? He goes knight g6. Is his idea to go to g6, knight e7, but then the queen would take it because this pawn is pinned. Bishop g3 is played, attacking the queen on d6. Until now, Samay has played this game very well in a must-win scenario, putting pressure, queen to c6, attacking the bishop on c4. Where should the bishop go? Well, queen b3, nice little move. Not only are you threatening here, but you also would like to play bishop b5 and win some material here. Excellent move by Biswa, exchanging one of the bishops. Yes, he will get a weakness on e6, but in that given situation, it was the best move. Now take with the queen, but instead he takes with the pawn. Well, this is a weak pawn now. It's a weakness, and Samay has to attack it. A best way to attack is to bring the knight on f4, unleashing the rook as well on e6, and that is exactly what Samay does. A fine move. Now knight e to d5 is important so that the rook defends the e6 pawn. Biswa actually makes the wrong move. He plays the other knight to d5, and now knight e6 is hanging. Also rook takes e6 is hanging. So a lot of pieces in trouble here. Knight e6 is actually a very good move. Samay thinks, and he just has to decide what to do, and he takes with the rook. Fine move, excellent. And I think Biswa had missed it. Now Biswa is down on time, also almost lost. The only way he can continue is to take the pawn on c3, because if he plays queen d7, then rook takes e7 and this knight is pinned and he will lose the critical knight here. So Biswa has touched his queen, he's planning, and he moves it to c3. That's a good move. Now for Samay, the only move is queen a2, keeping this pin. It's a very difficult move to find, but if he does, he will be winning. Once he finds queen a2, it's very difficult for black to continue, because the rook would come to e1. No, he takes the queen, and suddenly all of his advantage is lost. Biswa is back in the game. Knight takes c3 on the board, and now it seems like Biswa is just a few moves away from winning the COTB title, because he's won the first game. He only needs a draw. Rook to c1 played by Samay. This knight can now just be stable on the d5 square, both the knights. Yes, knight e to d5. Again, a good move by Biswa Kalyanarath. He has 4 minutes 10 seconds. Samay has 4 minutes 32 seconds. Biswa trying to get rid of some mosquitoes there. Samay is very tensed anyway in the position. He doesn't know what to do. He's already gone low on time, because he takes on d5, and his point is, if Biswa takes the rook, he will take the other knight, which would be winning for him. So Biswa must take back the knight on d5. That he does. Knight takes d5 on the board. No one would actually imagine them to be like this amazing stand-up comedians of India. They seem like real chess players, and now Samay should never ever fall into this back rank mate, which is why he goes h3, c6, very solid. In such a position, it seems like Biswa should get a draw. The position is objectively equal, but there's all to play for. 5 pawns each. Bishop versus knight. Bishop on e5 is a well positioned piece here. And one plan that black can think about later on is to play c5. He first goes king f7, activating his king. That's a good move. Rook to b1 played, attacking b7, and now b5 is possible, just pushing the pawn forward. Black does have a queenside majority, so b5 e5 can be played. He goes b6 first, which is fine, because now c5 is a threat on the board. What does Samay do? He has 3 minutes 9 seconds. Biswa has 3 minutes 21 seconds. He goes rook b3. That is kind of a mistake here. And now maybe he wants to go rook f3 check and then attack this pawn. So g5 would be very good. And Biswa plays it. Whoa, Biswa Kalyanarath on fire. He plays the move g5. And now black is in the driver's seat in this game. Next up is c5 coming to sort of destabilize the bishop on e5. Samay plays h4, but now c5 can be played. But Biswa just improves his king, which is also a fine move. Until now, the endgame play by Biswa has been excellent, and Samay is looking for his chances. He goes rook g3. c5 is the move that everyone's counting for, because you can't take, your bishop is hanging, and if you can't take, next move black can push c4, then c3, and his pawn is already going forward. No king h5 played by Biswa here. Remember that both the players have 2 seconds increment for every move. So h takes g5, h takes g5 played. It's not so clear how white should be continuing in this position. He goes king f1. Makes sense. Makes sense. Improving the king slightly. He goes knight to f4. Okay. The main point of this move is just creating some threats with the knight, but Samay takes it. Now we are into rook endgame. Rook endgames are generally very drawish, but Samay's rook is active. It goes to g7. It is attacking the pawn on a7. Biswa pushes his pawn to a5. This creates a weakness on the b6 pawn, so the rook can come here and attack the pawn on b6. He goes rook b7. Fine move. Now b6 is attacked. b5 played. What do you do now? Rook. Here there's a classy move, d5, cd5, rook b5, but instead Samay goes rook to b6. This means that Biswa can go rook c8, either defend this pawn, or he can go active with rook d8, trying to attack this pawn. He goes rook e4, which is also an excellent move. Just telling Samay that if you take here, I'll take this pawn. Samay now pushes on d5. And a good move here could be b4. It's not an easy move to find. b4, d takes c6, b takes a3. It's very complicated when the rook comes back and tries to stop here. But instead Biswa takes the pawn. Samay now takes on b5, attacking the a5 pawn as well as the d5 pawn. Which one should Biswa save here? He has 1 minute 14 seconds because the d5 pawn is actually falling with a check. Rook d4 is the best move, but he goes rook a4. Now rook d5 falls with a check. So Biswa is now a pawn down. He should come back. He should not go forward, because if he comes up, f3 is actually big trouble. Oh, if he plays f3, trouble here, because king g3 is met with rook h5, rook h3 mate. It's a forced mate. f3, king h4 is possible, but then white is better. Instead, Samay plays it a little passively. He goes rook d3. Now rook e4. Oh no, rook e4, there's f3. He must go rook c4 with the idea of trying to get active. But king g6 played, king f5 on the board. Samay is a pawn up, has good chances, but Biswa also has excellent chances to draw now king e5, and actually the position is drawn. The extra pawn does not count here. But he blunders with rook c4. Oh my god, he's missed the check, and there you see Biswa unhappy with his last move. Samay has got his confidence back. He knows he's winning this. Rook takes a5 played, check on the board, and now this is just completely winning position. White is 2 pawns up. Oh, he's going to make an illegal move. He was going to play king g1, which was into a check. He must go king f2. He plays it. Check again. You can see the nervousness on the players. It's the last game going on. The time is around 11 o'clock in the night. King g1. He will now try to move away from this side and try to attack the pawn on f4. 21 seconds for Biswa, 1 minute for Samay. Rook a2 played. Pushes the pawn to a4. Rook check. King goes out to h2. And now white is winning here. He can push his pawn, rook up the board, push the pawn down the board. That's the plan. Biswa now 10 seconds plays rook to c1. Ooh, g3 played. Interesting move. He wants to create a passer, and actually a good decision. Rook check. King comes up to h3. As long as you have an f passer, this is a winning position now. Rook c3. Check to the king. King d5. He pushes the pawn. King coming up, but no, there's a check now. And his rooks are traded. Biswa knows he's lost the game. Rook takes rook. King takes rook, and pawn is queening. Biswa resigns. The match is now tied at 1-1. We are going to the Armageddon. What a finals we are having of comedians over the board.